Exercise 1, Inventor 2026. Today we're going to take a look at the functionality with Inventor, the foundational functionality as well as some of the settings and options. What you see before you is actually the part we're going to create. With it, you could see that we're going to go ahead and build some platforms here. We're going to learn how to sketch first the profiles and extrude those out, and then we're going to learn how to put a hole in, as well as we're going to learn how to put fillets, that's a radius like you see right here and here, and then also chamfers, which are angles. That's these blue surfaces here. And if we rotate this around to the back side, we're going to learn how to shell it and create the shell body that you see there. So let's begin. First of all, start a new part. So you could go up here to the little new button or Control N will get you there, and standard I part. Now if you're looking for the proper template, depending upon where you are in the world, we are actually working on the English US, and basically you'll find the standard. We're not going to do metric here, even though metric is, in my opinion, superior. We're going to stick with inches. Go ahead and hit create. Now to start us off, if we take a look over here on the left, this is the browser for the model, essentially. This is going to create the history and your roadmap on how you created this part and allow you to edit it just by simply clicking on things. In here, you'll also see, if you hit the little plus symbol next to origin, that there's YZ, an XZ, and an XY. That's our front plane, that's our top plane, and the YZ is our right plane. Those are your paper, essentially. And those boxes that you see, you're not restricted to just sketching inside those boxes. This is basically, think of it as infinite. You could sketch beyond those. It's just a reference, so you could see the proper plane position. Okay, so to get started, I'm just going to click over here, and up here you'll see this on the 3D model. There's a Start 2D Sketch, a little green plus symbol. Go ahead and click on that. Now the three planes that we just went over actually reveal themselves in the viewport, and that's what this is right here. Go ahead and hover over the XY plane, and when it highlights, go ahead and click on it. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over here, and you'll see we're in the sketch tools. And you click on rectangle here. If you hit the little arrow to the right of it, you'll see there's lots of different methods for creating rectangle slots and polygons even. So if you're making a bolt head or a nut, that's where you'd go. Anyways, we're looking for just the 2-point rectangle. Now hover your pointer over what looks like crosshairs, and you'll see there's a little dot there. That's your origin, your 0, 0, 0, XYZ position in space. Now be aware with Inventor, you can actually delete that, and there's some benefits to that, and some challenges if you do delete it. So just make sure you try not to delete it, I would recommend. But go ahead and hover over the point when it turns green. And by the way, you see the colors here might vary on your release of the software, and I'm going to go through in a little bit how to change that. But go ahead and click there, move your pointer to the upper right, and you'll immediately start to see numbers appear. Now notice that 0.318 on mine. Yours is probably different than that, but the thing is it's highlighted in blue. That means you could immediately start typing in a value. So we want this rectangle to be 3 by 5. So it's going to be 3 inches. So just hit 3. You don't have to click on it or do anything. Just type 3. You don't have to type in 0.000 unless you're putting in numbers after that. But anyways, now hit the tab key on your keyboard. That will transition to the vertical dimension. In this case, we just want it to be 5, and so you can just type in 5. You don't have to type in 0.000 and hit enter on your keyboard. Now, it's so large that we're not seeing the whole thing, so we want to zoom to fit. And the way the software does it, you can either look on your keyboard in the upper right somewhere. You'll probably find the home button. You could click on that, or you could go to the home button right up here on the viewport. This is our rotation box. Don't click on that just yet, but click on the home button, and immediately you'll see it will, actually this home button actually throws us into an isometric view, whereas the other one just keeps us in the front view orientation. So perhaps in this case, because we're working on 3D modeling, Let's click on that home button so you get the same view. Now I could hit escape on the keyboard and that will kick me out of whatever tool I was in this case the rectangle tool, and we can see our dimensions. And it's not a bad idea to move those dimensions out a little bit. If you wanted to change them, it's just a simple double click. And you can type in the new value, hit the green check, and it will apply it. In this case, we're going to keep them at 3 by 5. Now, let's go to the upper left here to 3D model. And you'll see there's one in particular we're looking for. It's called extrude. Go ahead and click on extrude, and immediately you'll see it will dart your part outward. This is extrusion. You have the ability to click on this arrowhead here and hold your mouse button down. Now when I talk about mouse buttons, by the way, when I refer to click, it's always the left mouse button. And that's one we're going to use 90% of the time. You will find the right mouse button we'll use from time to time as well. That's for bringing up context-sensitive menus, or what I call kind of like a little dial or clock for selections. It's kind of cool. You'll see that in a minute. But basically, those are the mouse buttons that we use. And then there's the wheel in the center, which we'll see what that does shortly. But go ahead and click on this and hold and move it forward. And you can see it's like a ruler up at the top telling you how far you're extending it. Now, if you want, you could release it and type in the explicit value. In this case, type in 0.5 and hit enter. Now, just before I hit enter, I just wanted to show you this. We're going to be using this in the future. This allows you to flip the direction, have it go symmetric in both directions or asymmetrically, and you can type in the values. And there's also sorts of neat little tools in there we will explore shortly, but go ahead and hit OK. Now we have our first solid model here. Now, you probably want to learn how to manipulate it, i.e. how to rotate it dynamically and things like that. Well, here's how. Hold your shift key down and get your pointer in the center of the screen. Depress your wheel as if it's actually a button instead of scrolling. Like actually push it down and hold it. That's the wheel on your mouse. Now move your mouse left, right, up, and down. You'll see it dynamics, or what they call pivots, dynamically. You could release both buttons. Now, if you want to focus up and zoom on a certain thing, that's where you could like move your pointer to this upper corner here and start scrolling, and you could scroll in and out and focus on that, just by keeping your pointer hovered over where you want to focus up to while you scroll the wheel back toward you. And now if you want to fit that again, remember the home button on your keyboard or the home button over here will get you back. And the home button up there always brings you to isometric. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add to this. Go ahead and click on this surface and see this little green plus symbol? Well, this will start a sketch, but we could go over to the left to the browser and select what plane we want to sketch on. But in this case, since we have flat surfaces, we could actually sketch on that surface. So note that you can sketch on both planes and surfaces, and we'll also learn how to make planes in all sorts of different directions and such, so you could sketch virtually anywhere in space. Go ahead and click on this little green plus symbol, but just to show you before I go there, you could make the sketch visible if you wanted to. You could share the sketch as kind of like a copy, and then there's edit sketch, and then there's edit extrude. That would edit the 0.5 thickness that we just saw earlier. But go over here. One thing, there's also create finish, so if you want a material surface finish, I'm going to show that to you a little later. Go ahead and click on this little green plus symbol. And now you can see it's not fit to the screen. This is where you could hit your home button on the keyboard, and it will keep it oriented parallel to your screen. So now let's go over here to the rectangle tool again. Hover your pointer to the lower left corner. When you get the green dot, go ahead and click. Move your pointer to the right. Let it hover and snap in a way. You see the edge on the right highlights in green. That's good, but don't click yet. Notice it's just make sure that that edge is snapped, and then you'll see the 3-inch dimension already there. I would recommend leaving it as is to toggle through it, because what we're doing, we're creating an automatic relationship to the right side of the part. And so if the 3-inch dimension on the block below it changes, so will this. Go ahead and hit the tab key, And now this is one we do want to change. So we want this to actually be 1.5 for the height. Hit enter, and now that's defined. So at this point now we could go to 3D model, extrude, and again it's going to allow us to extrude it. Now notice there's Boolean. So essentially you have the ability to join that part to the other part, or cut it, remove material from it, which in this case there's no contact actually. And then there's intersect, and then there's new solid. But we just want to go ahead and leave it as is at 0.5 and hit OK. All right, now I'm going to show you how to cut a hole in it. So select this face right here, go to the green plus symbol, which is create sketch. And for this, you'll have to, you could hit the home button again, or you could click on front. That will zoom to fit as well. Now go to circle, and in this upper left quadrant of this surface, go ahead and just roughly around there, click, and move your pointer out and type in 0.75. This is the diameter of the hole that we're making. Hit enter. And now go to dimension. So you could override those dimensions or not even put those dimensions in, just sketch creatively and later go back and dimension them. And there's two methods of dimensioning or constraints. There's these relationship constraints and dimensions. We're going to first learn about dimensions here. So click on dimension and click on the center point. Now we want to locate where that needs to be drilled in from the center. So click on that and then click on the left edge and move your pointer upward, and you'll see a dimension appear from the distance to distance. So some of you might not have any experience dimensioning, but typically what you want to do is when you make a drawing or dimension, even for the future, what I mean by that is that someone else might want to edit this. And so you need to make sure it's laid out in a way that's legible, just like if you were to write out a paper about something. It's a language in and of itself. So go ahead and type in 1, actually click first, sorry, and type 1. You don't have to type 0.000 in this case because it's just 1 inch straight. Hit enter or the green check mark, and now it's positioned 1 inch off of the edge. Let's try that again. Click on the center point and click on the top edge. Move your pointer to the left. Now, again, those of you who are new to dimensioning, you want to make it as legible as possible, drawing, so it can be read. So tips to avoid, like right now it's centered, that's good. And it's a good distance away from the part too. You don't want it way out here. We want it like kind of close in proximity so it's easy to see. And also don't do this, like don't have it drag there, or don't drag it down here or even over the part if you could avoid it. Just get it out here and center it so it's easy to see. Click and type in 1 and hit enter again. And so now that is almost ready. One nice thing you could do here is you go to the 0.75 and you can drag it out this way, or like in this upper left corner to keep the dimensions clustered together. So now that we have that, it's fully defined. And what I mean by fully defined, it has both parameters to locate it as well as the size. We could now go to 3D model and extrude again. Now it's going to want to add material by default like it did before, but this has the ability to flip that. So right here we have flip and it will go backwards. Now currently, if we rotate this, remember the shift in the middle wheel, you can see it's going to go through at 0.5. But there's something called design intent. That's something I just want to plant the seed in your mind about this. Design intent is basically your plan on how you want this to update if changes ever occur. Be aware that with designs, change occurs all the time. So be considerate of yourself or others who might work on this in the future. If we know that that hole always needs to be drilled through, a better choice instead of a 0.5 would be this one, through all. This will ensure that no matter what, that hole will always remain open. Imagine this, that someone goes and they changed it to 0.75 before we changed this to through all. All of a sudden they didn't recognize that the hole is no longer through, the part gets fabricated or made, and all of a sudden it's like, wait, it's not a through hole. We can't put the bolt through it or whatever it needs to be used for. So that is just a little idea. You don't have to think about it too much in this class just yet, but just know in the future, that's called design intent. It goes across all CAD systems, especially parametric CAD systems like Inventor that we see here. And parametrics, by the way, if you've never heard that term before, parametrics is the ability to change. So we could always go back and change things. Hit OK. Now, like I said, if you ever want to change things, you could double click. Actually, in this one, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of different software. You could hover over these and you could say, make that visible, or we could edit that sketch. And we could always go back here, and let's say we want that to be 6 inches. Hit 6 and hit the green check, and it extends. Now, if you wanted to, you could always say, oh, you know, I don't want that. You could type, double click, type in 0.5 or 5 inches, or hit the undo button in the upper left here, and it takes us back. And just hit finish, and it should bring us back. Okay, now, well, at this point, you've pretty much finished the model that I wanted you to complete. What I want to do, though, if you have even just a couple minutes to watch this, this will make you look like a professional, like right away. And it's fun. It's going to make you feel more comfortable with it. You get to use your creative side bit. What I'd like you to do is follow me through this. Notice there's a fillet tool. Go ahead and click on fillet. And over here we could set a radius or whatever size. Like let's type in 1 inch, or just type 1. And now click on this edge here when the edge highlights. And it's like you hit it with a file and you file it down to round it off. Now you could adjust it. See that little arrowhead? You could move it in and out. And so that's what I talked about with your creative side. If you can't get it back to 1 inch, go ahead and just type it in. Now over here, go ahead and click on this one. We could add the same fillet. Now don't add any more than that for right now. I'll let you be more creative later, but go ahead and hit OK. Now go to chamfer. And a chamfer is basically a straight edge versus a radius or a round like you see here. So leave it at 0.125, and there's different ways to measure it, but we're going to go distance to distance, and which is the default. So select this edge here, and notice the edge highlights. If you select a face, just nothing happens. So go ahead and just click on that edge and hit apply, and then you could hit OK or cancel. And you've added and really enhanced the look of your part. Now let's add that shell. Hold shift and your middle wheel and rotate. Now you could use this too up here. You could click on these different corners of the box and get it the way you like it. Like I'm on the back side, and then there's a whole bunch of neat little tools here. There's even rotate, counterclockwise or clockwise. But have a little fun with it. I'm going to use my shift key in the middle wheel to get it like this, and get it similar to this, where you see the back side, all the flats. Now go to shell. Now we're going to make this a thin walled part. Right away when you hit shell, it does. It shows you a preview. It's hollowed on the inside. But go over here and make it 0.06, so 60 thousandths of an inch. That's what they call that. And that's a machinist talk. And one thing you'll notice, those of you who are taking my class, we talk about machinist talk or machinist speak. And what that is, especially in the United States here, we talk about like 0.06. That's 60 thousandths of an inch. And I know you were taught a little differently when it comes to some of this in math, the way they reference it. But that's how it is in manufacturing. If it's 0.006, that's 6 thousandths. So if it looked like this, and another 0, that we call that 6 thousandths. Okay, and again, it's a little different when you're dealing with a math class. But anyways, and there's a reason for that, and it goes back. There's a history. You could Google it if you want, or ask AI. They'll tell you about it. Okay. Anyways, so we have that 0.06. Now select the faces we want to remove. So we have to go in and, oops, let's see here. Okay, I'm going to hit cancel for a second, and for some reason I'm having a little challenge there. I'm going to go back to shell, and now I'm going to go ahead and select the faces. I meant to click down here. That would have actually, see that little bar? That enables us to select the faces. I was just out of that. Okay, select those three faces, hit OK, and now you'll see it will shell it out. All right, we could go back to the home button or the home up here, gives us isometric. Now here's just a little bit more. I hope this was fun for you. If you have an artistic flair, give this a try. Otherwise, at this point, you could just do Windows, Shift, and S, and then you click and drag a fence to surround the geometry, and you would be able to save that and submit it into Blackboard. But I'm going to show you a little bit more here. Okay, so notice up here we have these generic materials. Now these materials are smart materials. There's actually the Autodesk Material Library and the Inventor Material Library. Inventor Material Library is more focused on mechanical design. You could look at them if you want, but those ones are used like if you put in gold or if you put in, for example, aluminum 6061, you'll actually get something that reads out the like megapascals, like its yield strength and its tensile strength and things like that. Actual properties that you could run a simulation with. But these ones are just aesthetic colors. So for example, if you go up here, you'll see aluminum's like polished. It's alphabetic. I'm going to go to chrome polished. Now notice there's black and blue. I'm going to leave that blue one for later, but I'm going to go chrome polished, and you'll see it should look enhanced a bit. Actually has some like reflective properties. Now, here's another thing you could do. Over on the left, those chamfers, if you select that, now go over here to the same colors and find, either go with like, I'm going to go with the polished blue, and you'll see that will apply. I could select this face here and do the same. I could go back here and select polished blue or any color. Have a little fun with it. You don't have to go with the colors I'm going with. I'm just showing you a few little tricks here. Okay, now that you have that, let's take it a few steps further. Go to View, and now this is where it gets really neat. You have the ability to add shadows, so go All Shadows, Reflections, ground plane, you can turn on if you like. It doesn't really do much in terms of like make it look realistic. But then there's visual style and there's realistic. Normally I like to go with shaded with edges. So if you're wondering, I think the default is just shaded smooth, which looks more like that. But if you go with realistic, that will help. And then instead of orthographic, go with perspective. And that gives you a vanishing point. Like when you look at a room from the far end, everything looks smaller the further it is away from you. That's what this is doing. And finally, there's this ray tracing, and this is outstanding. When you click on that, I'll turn it on, what the heck. What you'll see, mine is set to use actually my GPU, which is an AMD GPU, which is a pretty decent one. And you see how it actually rendered it, makes it look very smooth and sharp. And there's settings like to go draft and high, so very high quality. But just be sure to turn that off when you're done. But with this now, if you do, you could actually hold your Windows key down, hold Shift down, and hit S as in Sam, click, and drag a fence to surround your geometry. And actually what it will do in the lower right here, a window will pop up. You get to save it. If you click on that image, you could save it as a PNG, PDF, I don't think so. But basically you could save it in bitmap or JPEG. Any of those I could accept and just basically send that to me and I'll give you credit. All right, now there are other things in here too. You could actually set like a dry salt bed below it. And that might not be your thing, but notice there's a lot of those different settings in there. There's, come on, there we go. I'll just go back to cool light. But be aware that this is really nice functionality. It allows you to get a more realistic appearance. And that pretty much concludes this exercise. Another thing you could do, if you didn't get that image, just go to File. And for those of you taking my class that are on Blackboard or D2L, basically just make sure you send me a PDF. And if you send a PDF, don't send the 3D PDF, just PDF, and give me the best or most descriptive view. So for example, like this, an isometric view like that's fine. So the little house button there will give you a good view. If it's not a very good view, feel free to rotate it and give me the, the details on the inside. And I'm really flexible as far as what you give me. If I need something more, I'll send you a message and I'll just say, hey, could you send me another one? And I'll give you full credit. So don't worry if you send me one that's not perfect. And but really isometric most of the time works unless it's a drawing and I just want a straight on view. All right, one more thing. The options, if you go to File and Options down here, this is where you could set up all of your different, the settings that you would want to change in here. There's actually more options in other areas too, but you'll see here you could actually, for the display, you could go to Settings here, and I have like mine set to one color, and you could have it display, if you want perspective, I wouldn't recommend that, or if you want ground shadows. Here's shaded with edges, which is one of my favorites. I go with one color, that's the edges that are black, but it's up to you. And you could enable ray tracing. So if you have a high-end graphics card, you could take advantage of it in many cases by checking that, and it will run much faster when you do that rendering that I showed you earlier. So just hit cancel there. But there's a whole bunch of other settings. Also colors, like right now it's set to dark. You could actually, sometimes I like presentation because it's a white background, it's easier to see, and you could set whichever one you want on here. You could also put a background image on or just have one color. It's really up to you, and have a little fun with it. I don't really care which one you go with. Just be aware when you set these colors, like see here, the colors of the lines might be different. And so when in my video I say, okay, click on the green dot. Well, if you chose a different color, it might show up orange on yours. So just be aware and be prepared for that. It's not a big deal. Usually people could make the best of it, but that's about it. All right, well, thank you for watching. Have a great day.